Steven, I forgot to write an intro for this episode, so all I can say is hi.
Listeners, I'm not surprised. Please go to Nick's social media and let Nick know that you are not surprised at all with this lack of commitment, dedication, effort. I mean, just overall.
I think it's the opposite. I think the listeners know, like the intro, first 10 seconds of the show, boom, that's what they're here for. They come for the intro. People think it's the lists or the banter or the jokes, but really it's the intro that I put so much time and effort into.
So you don't think people are pulling up the episode and then going, "Oh God, here we go, 5 to 10 minutes of bullshit. I just want to hear the list." And nobody's scrolling straight to like the 8 to 10 minute mark to start hearing because they don't want to hear the bullshit. They just want to get to the meat and potatoes. You don't think that's the case, huh?
I'm fucking appalled that you would call what we do bullshit. I think it's extremely enlightening, topical, relevant discussion every time that the listeners need to listen to better understand how to be people in this world. But as much as I was jokingly going on and on about people loving my intros, sometimes I sit to start writing my notes and I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta think of an intro this week. And I completely forgot to do it for your episode, and that's probably because I forgot about you, period, until I saw you here for this recording.
I'm very forgettable.
But not your list. Your list is not forgettable. I'm sure of it. You brought us an amazing list to guess, which is?
Well, let me start laying the breadcrumbs. I can't just give it to you, So as Nick and most of my close friends are aware of, I'm currently going through a life change. I'm finally hitting puberty. It took a while, but here I am.
I wonder if that's happened. Do you think anybody out there didn't hit puberty till their 30s?
I don't know. That's an idea for a movie. That could be like a follow-up to 40-Year-Old Virgin.
That's not a bad idea. All right. Movie screenwriters out there, take note.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go on.
So, no, it is a life change, and I have been looking to purchase something. Most people, probably the biggest purchase they ever make in their lives. Nick, what would that be?
The butt plug.
The butt plug.
I can't tell you how much I agonized over my first butt plug. I did so much research, and the problem is you get research from different sources. You just kill yourself agonizing over because it's a butt plug. It's so important.
It's a huge investment.
Use it every day.
Yeah. Exactly. It's going to be something in there every day. And while it may feel great at first, what about a month from now, 2 years from now? Is it going to feel the same? You're still going to like it the same way?
You can't return the butt plug.
Can't return that.
So it's a big decision. I understand. So Steven, you're going through this process now, evaluating butt plugs, reading Reddit threads about the best butt plug that worked best for everybody. Which butt plug have you landed on?
Yeah, that's the list. We're doing the top 10 most popular butt plugs, and I've pulled my information here from quite a few resources.
Okay, listen.
There's an abundance of resources.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, we're not actually doing the butt plugs. We're talking about buying a house today. Nick, tell the listeners, what is a house?
So, I was going to say it has 4 walls and a roof, but I guess that's not always true. It depends on the house, right?
Could be a giant cylinder. Could be living in a lighthouse.
I think, generally speaking, when someone hears the word house, they're thinking of 4 walls and a roof that goes like this. And that's where people live, I'm told, inside these houses.
At a very high cost.
Higher and higher, it seems.
So when you are gonna buy a house, Nick, what are some steps you got to do? You don't just walk up and say, "Hey, I'm buying that house," and you walk in and just start living in it, and then say, "Hey, what are you doing in my house? I live here now."
If only.
Yeah,
but yeah, the process of buying a house. First, you take your butt plug out. You take your personal butt plug out and put your house buying butt plug in, and then you keep it in there until you're ready to get fucked by the mortgage rates.
Mortgage rates on butt plugs are just obscene these days. It's really out of control. I think I'm going to write to my senator about mortgage rates on butt plugs right now.
They're guarantee you they'll pay attention. They always do to those letters to the senator. But I think people want to talk about the price of eggs and things like that being kind of an indicator of how the economy is going. I say look at the butt plug prices; they've gone through the roof. Can hardly
the
afford.
roof. Hopefully
I mean,
not the roof in the home you're living in.
Hopefully not.
Well, listeners, one of the
please steer us in the right direction.
Trying to get Nick to go unsuccessfully is you get inspections. You got to get the house inspected. You got to do it. You got to get a professional in there, and you got to let them know what's wrong with that house. Yes. So today, the list I have brought are the 10 most common home problems that inspectors find.
Oh my God. I love it. Where'd you find this list?
This list came from the International Association of Certified Home Inspectors. And I also got some other information from Inspect It First, the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Architectural Digest, Select Building Inspectors, and a few other things. For each of these issues, I brought some information about like how you can tell if you might have this issue and what you can do to help get it fixed. So,
okay. The top 10 most common home problems that inspectors find. And so Stephen is literally in this process as we speak. We were just talking about it before we hit record. He's inspecting a house he's trying to buy. And I've gone through this a few times with a few different homes I've bought. So I think I'm going to do very well on this episode, as I always do.
As you always do. I guess we'll let the listeners be the judge.
Okay, so tell me about this list. Anything else?
So this is recent surveys by within U.S. and Canadian home inspectors. So Brad Choma, he's getting some representation here, and these are the 10 most common problems. And I will say number 10 is kind of just like a catch-all, I guess. So it's probably more like 9, but that's why we call it 10-ish. Am I right, folks?
No. We got to check on that. I'm not sure if that's why we call it tennis. I think we call it tennis because this is a tennis podcast. I just can't get anyone to talk about tennis when they come on here. We always end up talking about top 10 lists. I'd love to talk about tennis sometime.
Maybe ease into tennis. Maybe start with like badminton, work your way up. Maybe, well, actually, maybe start with ping pong. Start ping pong, go up to badminton, graduate up to pickleball, and then maybe, you're building, and then finally you graduate to tennis.
By the second. We're losing the listeners by the second. So I'm ready to guess this list, and I want to know how often. I mean, it's got to be top 5, but like you bring the inspector in, they start, they put a stethoscope up to the wall, the drywall. The stethoscope is the thing the doctor listens to your heart on. They put that up to the wall and they listen and they kind of lightly knock, and then they start hearing like a it's not hollow in the spot they're knocking on, and they're like, okay, found it. And then they reel back with the sledgehammer, break it into the wall, and a fucking trillion butt plugs just fall out of the hole in the wall that he just made. And he said, we found your problem right here. The walls were full of butt plugs.
So who's putting them in there? Somebody stashing them there? Is this like every homeowner, they find out that they're like, oh my God, this is such a convenient spot for me to stash my butt plugs. And then the next homeowner moves in, they go, oh, the previous owner forgot to take their butt plugs. Well, I don't want to touch those. That's very personal. I don't want to touch their plugs. And so they just start putting theirs in there. And then over 100 years, this house has had so many people live in it. You've got children growing up. The kids grow up, they inherit the house from mom and dad. They open up the door, they go, oh my God, that's mom and dad's butt plug.
I like that because where I was going to go is it's like crop circles. How no one knows how they get there.
Oh, okay.
They just show up
maybe there. Some of them nobody knows.
But yours is better. And I tell you, there's a few people laughing along with us to the butt plugs, and there's a lot more people that are just like, God damn it.
Rolling their eyes. They're skipping. They're hitting that fast forward. They're like, oh, where the hell is the list?
Last butt plug joke for a while.
I was going to buy a house myself. I want to hear the list. And then I got to hear these two bullshit about butt plugs the whole time.
Okay, no more butt plugs. 5 minutes at least. I'm promising no more butt plugs.
Time it.
Okay. So how specific are these? I know you said 10 was a catch-all, but
yeah, 10 is a catch-all. They're fairly specific, just pretty common things. I mean, throw out a guess and I'll let you know how you're tracking.
I'll give you one that happened to me, and that's termite damage.
Okay, termite damage. I would say that is probably a structurally related problem. Would you agree with that? All right. Structural related problems is on the list.
That's got to be high, though. Put it at 2 or 3.
No.
I'll put it at, 4 or 5.
No.
5 or 6.
Which one is it? 5 or 6?
It's 6.
All right, he got it. First try.
I
no problem. Number 6, structurally related problems.
Okay.
Many houses sustain damage to structural components such as foundation walls, floor joists, rafters, window and door headers. Pretty common. It's, well, number 6 on the list. So here are some signs that your home might be having some structural problems. If you got cracks in the walls, cracks in the foundation, cracks can be a sign of something that's coming down the road that you're not going to like. Uneven floors can be caused by improper construction, settling of the foundation, termite damage is one of them, insufficient support for the subfloors. You could have bulging walls. I've seen this where like the wall seems to be bulging in one corner, drywall cracks, foundation wall cracks, butt cracks where you might put something that
Stop it, goddamn.
Water
I
leaks.
said 5 minutes.
I didn't say anything. Hey, I'm just saying cracks here.
Okay.
Rust stains, cracked leaky balconies. You guys get it. If your concrete is cracking, you're seeing some cracks around the house.
Can you please keep naming off 1,000 examples? Because I still don't understand.
That's something that should be a red flag.
Red flag for sure.
Yeah, we found a house that we liked, and we went and looked, and I saw a couple cracks. They didn't look bad, but I did see a couple. And then we were able to get the inspection report because somebody tried to buy it and then they backed out, which is also a red flag.
Yep. Because once that happens with an inspector like that, it's going to be real hard to sell that house.
Yep.
But fuck them. Shouldn't have put so many butt plugs in their wall to fuck up the foundation of the home.
That's what causes the bulging, I think.
Yeah. By the way, let's go back to that. You talk about bulging walls and you're like, oh, I've seen all kinds of bulging walls. And then you just immediately move on like that wasn't a fucking funny thing to say.
I was trying to get you to crack. No pun intended. But you weren't giving in. It wasn't until I started going back to, I still got a few more minutes until we're allowed to say something. But that was when I finally got you to start laughing.
I mean, sometimes I've been to a house like we're shopping for homes. I don't see any cracks in the walls. Floor looks good, but I will see some bulging balls sticking out of the wall. And I'll be like, okay, like I really like this house, but I can't do the bulging balls.
Oh, I feel like that would be a selling point for you. I'd feel like the house could have all kinds of problems, but then you go, God, but those bulging balls, I really want this house.
The seller was unwilling to negotiate on the bulging balls. They said I had to stay. They're not taking them with them. They're not getting rid of it. So we walked. We went to a house that instead had bulging tits.
Okay, well, to each their own, I guess.
Okay, so structural problems at number 6. Did I know it or what?
You knew it. Nailed it. First guess.
Oh, I wonder if this is too specific, but let's say the roof needs a new roof. Roof damage.
Roof damage. That is not too specific. That is right here on the list. What number do you think that is?
4.
Nope, but you're close.
5.
Nope.
3.
There you go.
Knew it.
Number 3 is roof damage. 8.5% of the respondents reported roof damage as being an issue, and that is what put it at number 3 on this list. Roof damage can be caused by a number of things. There's weather like ice, hail, wind damage. Human activity, walking on the roof, shoveling snow, cleaning the gutters can cause damage. Roof installation, if you improperly install the roof or if the gutter system wasn't installed correctly, then that can cause problem. And then you just got regular old wear and tear. Some signs of roof damage.
You said human activity, and I was sure you were going to do a booty clapping joke for Dr. Buster, but
no, that's what causes the weather. Okay. Yeah, you got high winds from that.
Of course, yes.
Yeah. If you're worried if you might have roof damage, or if the house you're looking at might have roof damage, then the signs can be loose or cracked shingles, missing granules, and dark spots on the roof.
Yeah. I try to be in and out of a house in between roof repairs because they're such a pain in the ass. But yeah, we had roof damage and a leak from the roof, so we had to replace it. And it helped us sell the house later. So
yeah, that's definitely something that shows up on the reports, and that's one of the first questions or one of the first things I hear from, if you do an open house, there's like a realtor or somebody in there showing off the house. One of the things they always say is, "Oh, this roof was just replaced," and blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. Like they're very proud when the roof has been recently replaced.
Yes, because roof is one less thing to worry about. And Steven, the house you're buying, your roof is good, right? But you have other things like the hot water tank, plumbing. windows, but isn't it nice you don't have to worry about the roof?
Well, I don't necessarily know that I don't have to worry about the roof yet because the inspector came out, but it snowed a lot here recently
Oh,
and they were not able to look at the roof because of all the snow. So I rescheduled for the warmest day I could. And, all signs point to the roof being fine because the report showed that the roof was replaced 10 years ago.
well, I will like if the snow melts off the roof and you find that there's just no roof there at all. It was
What
just
was what
snow
was
in
holding the
place.
snow? The snow built up all through the house and somehow magically
Exactly.
took the shape of what a roof looks like.
Would you still buy the house, Stephen, if it
Oh
was
yeah,
no roof on
absolutely.
it?
I mean, that's a
Okay.
perk. You got it. You're just hoping for the next snowstorm because it's like a little amusement park in your house.
Oh my god. Okay. The listeners are like, God damn, go back to the butt plug jokes. All right, let me give you another guess. Is there something about water damage?
There is some stuff about water damage. Not necessarily water damage. It's more
Flooding?
surface grading and drainage is what it is.
Okay, all right. So the question is that in the top three? I'm gonna say no. I'll put that at number 7,
No.
8.
Although here's a hint for you. Number 7 is related to water, but not necessarily damage.
Plumbing?
Well, okay. Do you want to just jump right into number 7?
Well, okay. Let's do 7 first, and we'll come back to the other one. So
Okay.
plumbing at number 7.
Yes.
Give me some credit on that.
So plumbing number 7. We'll come back to surface grading and drainage. So okay,
Everyone, hold on to your fucking
hold on.
butts.
Everyone's just like chomping at the bit, like they.
Yeah, we're getting to the surface grading, people. I
I was like,
promise
damn
you.
it, I just want to hear about the drainage. Fuck your plumbing.
We'll get there. Everyone, calm down. We'll get there.
All right.
Okay, tell me about plumbing.
So plumbing, though not ranked by the respondents as a number one problem, plumbing defects still rank very high among house problems encountered and include the existence of old and incompatible piping materials, as well as faulty fixtures and waste lines. You could have low water pressure, which can be caused by a number of issues like faulty fixtures, clogged pipes, broken pressure regulator. If your water pressure is low and your water bill is high, then you got a problem. There's water heater issues. You could have clogged drains, a clogged toilet, probably because Dr. Buster just recently paid you a visit. Leaky faucets, leaky pipes, sewer line problems, burst pipes, all kinds of things that nobody wants to have happen at their house.
Right. This was all simpler back in the olden days, like 1800s. You didn't need the plumbing inside. You just go shit in the street, come back inside. But I do think, I have a lot of plumbing issue experience in my current house. We bought this house. We built it. We're the first owners of this house. And when we moved in, first night we were in, the master shower started, what's it called? Like the water was rising out of the drain and spilling all over the bathroom.
Oh, geez. Did your house have a septic tank?
No.
Oh.
There was
A clog.
mud. There was mud and stuff clogged up in the pipes underground. And so they fixed that. And then it kept happening. So we found out they dug all the way to the main like city line where our line connects to the city. And the pipe was uphill like this. And so, of course, water was going to get stuck there and come back. So they fixed that. But it was a huge pain in the ass. We couldn't use any toilets or bathtubs for a few days until they fixed it. And it just it reminds you, plumbing is kind of one of those things where there's a lot of good plumbers out there and a whole lot of shitty ones out there that don't give a fuck. And
yeah, the give a fuck matters a lot. And the thing about plumbing is like everything looks great and you're not going to know there's a problem until you turn on the whole system and you get everything going. You got to get the water running and then you got to get it going down the drain. And another thing that can happen if the underground plumbing isn't installed correctly is if you don't get proper compacting, because the ground moves, the ground settles, and what you don't want is the ground to move and settle, and the pipe to become uneven, which can cause a belly, is what it's called. But it's where the pipe that was supposed to have a constant, gradual decline, all of a sudden will decline too much and then incline again back to where it was because something wasn't compacted properly. And if the belly is too bad, it'll cause another issue, just like Nick was saying, where you'll get backup because eventually, over time, solids are going to collect in that pool, and the only way to get them out is to like
suck them out with a straw.
Yeah, just suck them out with a straw. But Yeah, plumbing is stressful. Anything with water is
and it's such a pain to deal with, because it's like plumbing's one of those things you never think about it until there's a problem, right? You take plumbing for granted everywhere you go, every day in your life, and then when something happens and you have to pay for plumbing,
out of sight, out of mind. I mean, Reed and they've shut off the water to this apartment like 2 or 3 times. I mean, you go 2 days without water, it's like you can't do anything. You can't cook, you can't shower, you can't wash your hands, you can't do anything unless you have running water. It's
or if you
almost
have running peanut butter nearby, you can
yeah,
wash
running
your hands
peanut
with the
butter.
peanut butter.
Yeah.
Wash your hair with the peanut butter. Yes.
Yeah.
It's the way it should have been all along. Am I right?
All along.
Okay. But tell me about the drainage one. So is that
okay? So yeah, you should guess the number, because you said you didn't
7.
think it was top 3. Oh yeah, you guessed 7, and then that was actually plumbing. Well, I'll give you a hint. It is in the top 3.
2.
No.
Oh my God, 1. Wow.
Yep. I was surprised. Improper surface grading and drainage. This was by far the most frequently found problem, and it was reported by 35.8% of the survey respondents. And it's responsible for the most common of household problems, including water penetration of the basement and of the crawl space. So signs of improper drainage are usually water pooling near the front of your home's foundation, water in your basement. If you start getting a whole bunch of mosquitoes around the house, there's probably because there's standing water somewhere because there's not proper drainage. The ways you fix it, the cheap ways actually, are installing some gutters, downspouts. You can get a little bit more expensive and install drains. It can cause foundation problems depending on the kind of soil you have. But basically, drainage problems are expensive to do because you gotta, it's gonna make a mess. You gotta get out there with a whole bunch of excavation and dig and do the drainage.
We got to do that here. We've been putting it off. We have some drainage issues in our backyard.
Listener, if you ever need a break from Nick and Mel, I got you. I totally got you, and I understand, because I need a break from Nick and Mel literally every minute of my awake life. But there's actually a Tennis Podcast adjacent episode series that I host every month for Tennis Pod Plus members, and it's Nick and Mel free, which honestly is the best part. That's called The Bookbuster. That's where I leave a quick and honest review of a psychology or self-help book in about 10 minutes or less, and I drop that every single month for Tennis Pod Plus members on both Patreon and Apple. I've covered books about appreciating things, managing your time, instant weight loss fads, and so much more. Essentially, I am dumpster diving through all the books that I read as a psychology professional. I'm sifting out all the bullshit, and I'm only bringing you the tippy-top best books that I've experienced. I hope you'll join us for the next episode of The Bookbuster, where I'm going to only review the next quality book that I feel strongly that everyone should read. So join Tennis Pod Plus today and listen to all the past episodes of The Bookbuster, and of course, to get all the ones in the future. When you sign up, you'll also get other perks too, like ad-free episodes. Brothers and sisters, I haven't listened to a Tennis Pod with ads in years. I honestly forget that the Tennis Pod even has ads anymore. You'll get other bonus content and much, much more. So please do yourself a favor and get a free 7-day trial at tennispod.com/plus, or sign up in just one tap on our Apple Podcast page. It really is that easy.
So I got number 1, improper surface grading and drainage. I'm missing 2. 3 is roof damage. 6 is structural problems. 7 is plumbing.
Yep, missing 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, and 2.
What about electrical?
Okay, electrical. That is on the list. Where do you think electrical ranks?
2 or 4. It's up there.
Which one? I'm
2.
holding his feet to the fire, listeners.
2.
2?
No, he's holding my feet to the electrical fire.
Now, are you sure you want to stick with 2? I'm giving you a chance here to swap away.
This is my bit, first of all. You don't steal my bits. I don't do terrible at guessing and steal your bit, but I'm going to stick with number 2.
All right, as you should, because number 2 is improper electrical wiring. 19.9% chose this item as the most common home defect, which includes situations such as insufficient electrical service to the house, inadequate overload protection, and amateur and often dangerous wiring connections.
Yeah.
So, some signs that you might have some improper electrical wiring would be flickering lights. Lights in one fixture could be due to a loose bulb, but if it happens multiple times or throughout the entire house, or even after you replace the bulb, then could be sign of inadequate wiring. If the circuit breaker keeps tripping and you keep having to go in there and reset it, that could be an issue with electrical wiring. There's burning smells, or if the outlets feel warm, which makes me think of The Office when they do the fire, and then he's like,
Yeah.
"How warm is the handle?" Like, it's lukewarm. What does that mean?
Well, it's also like how often are you touching the outlet,
Yeah, to see if it's
panel?
warm.
Right.
Yeah, I imagine you go down there to plug something in, and you're like, "Oh, that's weird. Why is that warm?" Maybe you catch it then. An obvious sign would be sparking. If you're about to plug something in, and fucking sparks are flying, then might have a problem there.
But what if the sparks are flying because there's romance in the air?
Romance in the air. The house knows where you've been putting your butt plugs, and it's like, "Hey, baby."
Well, we were talking about plugging in, so
Yeah.
this is adequate.
Yeah. Or there could be loose connections at outlets, switches, junction boxes, all kinds of things. Electrical is the thing that intimidates me the most. If I was going to do a do-it-yourself project in the house,
I don't fuck
I think
with electrical.
the last thing I would do is electrical. And then the thing right next to that is plumbing. I don't want to fuck with electrical, and I don't want to fuck with plumbing.
I'll do you one better. I don't want to fuck with anything. I don't want to fuck with anything. I'm not a do-it-yourself kind of guy. But yeah, water and electricity are both scary, and they can fucking destroy your house easily. Okay, so we're done with electricity. What's the other big thing?
We have talked about it a little bit.
What have we talked about that is not on this list already? Windows? Oh, HVAC. Something with heating and air?
Yes. Okay. So you've hit on multiple things here. So let's start with just heating. Start with heating systems. Where do you think heating systems ranks?
4 or 5.
Okay.
Is that right?
Which one?
Of those? 5.
No.
That was a test. It's 4. I knew it.
It is 4. Also, the heating system can be broken, malfunctioning. You could have a broken furnace. If you have a chimney, the chimney could be blocked. You could, if you have a gas fireplace, the gas valve could be broken. You're not getting any gas to the fireplace. Whatever, could be any of those things. There's also heat pump air conditioners, which is basically an air conditioning system with a reversing valve. And so now the air conditioner can heat your house instead of cooling it. Heat pump air conditioners typically last about 10 years. If you haven't replaced it in a while, then it's probably getting less efficient. You could probably get a higher efficiency one after the 10-year mark, but they do kind of start to wear out about that point. And then furnaces last a little bit longer.
When you say that, and I've thought about it a few times during this episode, but I joked earlier about life was simpler in the 1800s when you just went and shit in the street. But it's true.
But people were also cold all the time.
Well, put that thought aside for a moment. Think about all the things in a home now that are kind of standard. Plumbing, electricity, heating systems, cooling systems. And homes more and more, everything is smart and electric. And none of that used to be a thing. And so the point is, there's so many things now that can go wrong that was just never there before. But they're the modern comforts we expect.
Yeah, and I do agree with that. But at the same time, it is kind of astounding how reliable a lot of this equipment is. I mean, think about, like I said, the heat pumps will last 10 years. A furnace will last 15 to 20 years. That's a long time for something to run. And like you said, you're never even thinking about it unless it's broken, and it doesn't break often enough for you to, like, for it to be at the forefront of your mind. It usually does its thing on its own without you ever having to mess with it, except for like some minor, change to the filters or whatever. But it really is pretty amazing how reliable most of this stuff is, because it's not like it's breaking once a month or something.
That's true. Kind of side note, but when I look at skyscrapers and shit, plumbing and electric lines had to be done for this entire skyscraper. There's a toilet on floor 150 that drains all the way down to street level and below. And it's fucking crazy. Every time you see a neighborhood full of houses or an apartment complex or buildings in general, those all filter down to an underground intricate sewage system that was built by fucking somebody. I don't fucking know who built this shit. It just seemed to just show up someday. And it's all over the modern world. It's just crazy how it's all this infrastructure is just there, and a lot of it's old, which is this whole other thing. But
yeah, infrastructure that took a long time to build. What's funny about the skyscrapers is, and I didn't know this until I started working on them, I guess, but they you'll have toilets and fixtures on the top floor of a skyscraper, hundreds of feet up, and they will you have to purposefully put zigzags in the plumbing so that when you flush the toilet, the water just doesn't fall straight down and hit terminal velocity because it fell so far. And so they purposefully have to put things in there to add some resistance to the water so it isn't flying all the way down to the bottom and hitting whenever it finally turns, hitting that turn really hard.
Yeah, I never ever thought about that.
Yeah, it's not something you would think about. Yeah, just like all these little things that go into designing these skyscrapers. It's like there's all these.
We take it all for granted.
Yeah, no one thinks about it.
It's just humans are pretty dumb sometimes, but they're also pretty smart sometimes.
Well, we learn from our mistakes usually.
Some of us do.
Some of us.
But it makes you think, like, imagine all the infrastructure that we were just talking about, the plumbing infrastructure and the electric grid and all this shit that we take for granted. If we had to build all of that now, it would never fucking happen.
Think about something that's amazing to me is all the roads, the
highway system,
intricate web of not just the highways, but the neighborhood roads and the city roads and the highways, and it's all just so interconnected, and there's so much of it. And I mean,
you can get from a road in Southern California to a road in the tip of Canada, and they're all connected.
Yeah, it really is amazing how much there is. And I think it was one of the more recent episodes that the statistic still blows my mind. But I think you said something like China from the years of 2013 to the 2020 or something, they used more concrete than the entirety of the United States. Is that ringing a bell? Didn't you say something?
I don't remember the exact figure, but it was something like that.
Yeah, it was some crazy figure, and I remember thinking, God, and just think of all the fucking roads and everything. That's so much concrete. Yeah.
Anyway, how'd we get here?
I don't know.
So let's talk next about cooling systems.
Okay, so cooling system isn't its own category, but
air conditioner.
Well, no. Think so you got the air conditioner, you're making cold, but that cold doesn't do anything unless it's distributed throughout the house.
Central air?
Yeah, like ventilation.
Ventilation. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Ventilation.
So having poor ventilation is an issue. Where do you think poor ventilation ranks?
I mean, that seems like it should be higher, but I'll put it at 8.
No.
9.
Yep. You've been one off almost every time.
By design.
By design. Something interesting is that, everybody wants to seal their home. Nobody wants the hot or cold extremes outside to get into the house. So people will be very ambitious to save energy and try to seal every little thing of their home and oversealing it. But oftentimes that can it could be counterintuitive, and you can result in excessive interior moisture, which can cause rotting and mold and premature failure of a lot of the systems in the house in general.
Okay, yeah.
And poor ventilation can cause a whole lot of issues. Like you could have health issues, lead to dry, burning mucous membranes. You could be sneezing, runny, stuffy nose, fatigue, headaches, all that stuff. Energy efficiency, poor ventilation can cause your home to overheat in the summer and not get too cold in the winter. And like I said, mold and moisture, you could have structural issues, surface damage, and unpleasant smells. And then also coming along with ventilation is if you have poor maintenance, which hint, changing the filters out and keeping that whole system working. Because if you don't change the filters, the filter will get clogged, and your furnace is going to have to work harder to be able to pull the air across that very dirty filter. And eventually it's going to really cut down the lifespan of the furnace. And you're also not going to get as much air flowing through the house, which is going to cause hot and cold spots also.
I've had a lot of experience with shitty air conditioners too. Well, it was just so old. We were just trying to make it live longer instead of replacing it. But
yeah, and the older they get, the less efficient they get, and then you just end up paying more and more in the electrical bill. And not only that, but the older they get, the more often they're going to break, and then you're going to have to keep paying somebody to go out there and keep fixing it too. So at a certain point, it does hit the end of its life, and you just kind of bite the bullet and replace the whole system, which is pricey.
Is poor ventilation related to windows? Like, is windows a thing on here?
Well, kind of. Windows, I would say, something on a certain portion of the house. How do I word this? What's the first thing you see when you pull up to a house? Your
front door?
No.
Or, entryway?
Think like macro, bigger scale. Zoom out. The windows are part of it. The doors are part of it.
Yeah. The exterior?
There you go. The exteriors. So
That's
where would exteriors rank? Yeah, just in general, issues that can be discovered on the exteriors.
Okay. I'll put that at 5.
Nope.
I was so confident I started to write it. 8.
Yes, 8. Exteriors. So this can be minor stuff, and honestly, I think every house that I've looked at, there's always going to be kind of something out there, but it's just, in general, flaws with the home's exterior. It could be the windows, the doors, the wall surfaces, maybe like a piece of the siding is kind of peeling back a little bit. But issues with the exterior can be responsible for water and air penetration, which will lead to bigger issues down the road, especially if the weather stripping and the caulking and everything else that goes into getting all of those seals on there. If all of that's bad, then, it'll cause further issues down the road. Not like an immediate red flag, like a structural issue, but it can lead to bigger problems.
My childhood home, the home I grew up in, I was an adult at the time. I had moved out, but I was there at the house when they were doing some remodeling in the home. They had hired some guys to come remodel their kitchen. And while they were there, I remember them showing my parents the front exterior of the home, like the front door and the windows that are right there at front. He walked me and my dad over and he showed me, and he took his finger and put it up against the wall that's in the front of the house, and his finger just went right through it, just popped right through the solid wall. Because
was it wood? And it was
it was wood. There was rot damage all over that, and the house was maybe 15, 20 years old at the time.
Oh my God.
And so they had to do a whole replacement of, because it turns out that whole front wall, which is, protecting the home from the elements, was so flimsy you could stick your finger through it, and they replaced the whole thing. So sounds fucking exteriors.
Not cheap. No. Exteriors could be as minor or as severe. I mean, the range is wild on that one. It could just be a little scratch, or it could be, like Nick was saying, the whole wall is going to come apart just because you push it.
Yep. You got some bulges in these walls. Well,
probably from all those butt plugs.
Story.
Oh, okay.
No, I was going to tell you, he put his finger through
and they all came falling out.
Yeah, the butt plugs came falling. And my dad looked at me and he said, "It's not what you think." And I said, "No, Dad, it's okay. Some of those are my butt plugs too."
And then he looked at you and goes, "That's my boy." He's so proud. A tear came rolling down his cheek.
Came rolling down his butt.
Whoa.
Okay, so I just need 5 and 10. 10 is a catch-all.
5 and 10, and 10 is kind of a catch-all. Yeah. So I did say hint earlier, and you go, "Oh,
maintenance." Okay. You said maintenance.
Yeah. Poor overall maintenance of the home.
That's stupid. That's everything.
All right. Well, yeah.
Is that 10?
No.
Oh, that was 5? I thought that was the catch-all.
That's not the catch-all.
Oh my God.
It's like a mixed bag of a lot of stuff from the other categories. I feel like it is kind of a catch-all in its own right. It says that even though the novice home buyer is usually aware of this situation, demonstrated by signs such as cracking, peeling surfaces, dirty surfaces, they painted to try to cover up something, crumbling masonry. Some of the plumbing fixtures could be broken or cracked or whatever. That's just poor overall maintenance of the home, and it is kind of a red flag. Reed and I walked a few houses that they looked great in the pictures and very misleading. And then you walk into the home and it was just like, I don't know, it just wasn't very well taken care of. It felt dirty,
Right.
and then it immediately kind of turned me off. It made me feel like I was walking into a fixer upper, and that even if I hired the most professional and experienced inspector, I was still going to have issues that I was going to find later down the road.
Well, it says a lot about the likely state of the house with how the sellers model it for you.
Mm-hmm.
If they take a lot of time and you can tell they made the effort to present the home in a good way, versus if it looks like they didn't make any effort at all. People trying to sell their homes lose potential buyers that way, which in some ways it's so silly, right? Like who cares if they didn't vacuum or something, right? But it's all about the presentation.
Yeah, all about the presentation. And the same thing about a car. I mean, if you put two cars in front of you,
Yes,
and they're both the exact same year, the exact same model, same everything, but one hasn't had a car wash and it has like all this dirt and maybe some like fast food wrappers or whatever, and then the other car is pristine. I mean, I'm just going to
you
naturally
choose the
incline
pristine
to
one.
go to the pristine one,
Yeah.
even if it does carry a bit of a premium.
Yep. And it could be subconscious too. You might not even think about it in those terms, but your mind just gravitates toward the nice, clean, sparkly one.
Yeah.
Same thing with butt plugs.
Same thing with butt plugs.
You go toward the nice, clean, sparkly one, not the gross one that has fast food wrappers all over it. Hasn't been washed.
Hasn't been washed.
Now, what could this catch-all be that's not poor?
You're not even. I don't even think you're going to guess. There's two. You want me to give it to you? I don't know, unless you want to try to guess it.
Give me one hint first. Give me one hint.
It's a common abbreviation.
How could that be? All right, I give up. What is it?
Miscellaneous. Miscellaneous, and then in parentheses it says cosmetic. So that was why I almost didn't want to have it on here, because it's just like I felt like 1 through 9 really hit it all, especially how kind of a catch-all number 5 is. Miscellaneous cosmetic. It just says this category includes primarily interior components, often cosmetic in nature, which were not found frequently enough to rank individually. So there were some houses that we walked through that, like, I don't know, like I didn't like the paint color of a bedroom, and it's like, it's not a big deal. It's just that's something I'm going to have to do when I move in, is I'm going to have to paint this room. I wouldn't call it an issue. But that's not
something the inspector's not going to.
No, that's not something the inspector's going to knock on. And
no, the inspector's like, hey, we didn't find any problems with the house. Plumbing looks great. Electricity looks great. But that back bedroom is painted fucking purple. You're going to want to reconsider things.
They
Where
had
something. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to make another butt plug joke. Go ahead. Nobody wants to hear it anyway. They're tired of it. They're already rolling their eyes.
If they've made it this far, I congratulate them. But what I was going to say is, where would something like new carpets be? Because I've seen that where it's like sometimes you're like, we like this house, but we want new carpets put in. That fall under?
Yeah, I guess that could be cosmetic. Like if the carpets were shitty, although I almost wonder how much of that is overall maintenance. I mean, maintaining the carpet is maintenance of the house. If you buy carpet but you never vacuum it, then like.
Well, and again, an inspector probably is not going to point that out now that I think about it.
No, I think he would. I think an inspector would point it out. Yeah. Any kind of deficiencies, they don't have to be necessarily mechanical in nature, like structural, or if something looks like it hasn't been taken care of, then I feel like it would pop up.
I don't know. Inspectors out there, let us know. Hit me up on social media at @TennisPod. Would you mention the carpet and the purple painted walls?
Now, the purple painted walls, I don't think they would. But if the carpet had like a bunch of stains, well, at the same time, I don't know. That's kind of
why would they even point that out? It's like self-evident. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but some other stuff is self-evident. Like if there's a shattered window on the front of the house, it's evident, but they're still gonna document it.
That's true. The world may never know. We may never get the answer to this. It's one of those mysteries, just like the crop circles,
or all of the mysterious butt plugs hidden inside the walls at these houses.
No, I think we got the answer to that one. You laid it out pretty clearly, the theory there.
Should I take the listeners through the top 10 here?
I guess.
Okay.
Fuck, I guess. Yeah, sure. Why not? We're here.
Number 10, miscellaneous, cosmetic. Number 9, poor ventilation. Number 8, exteriors. Number 7, plumbing. Number 6, structural related problems. Number 5, poor overall maintenance. Number 4 is the heating systems. 3 is roof damage. 2, improper electrical wiring. And number 1, improper surface grading or drainage.
I thought number 3 was not roof damage. I thought that was the roof doesn't exist and snow
and it
is
was
piled
just a
into
big
the
puddle
house
of
to make
snow. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay, I wrote that down
it's
wrong.
giving you some protection in winter for sure, but what are you going to do in summer?
Hope that it hails so much
that the hail
that
builds
the hail piles up.
Okay.
That's your only hope. Or, saran wrap that you put on, like a dish to preserve it. You could just get a bunch of saran wrap, wrap
Yep.
it from one end of the house to the other.
Or you could just keep the snow alive, like just every now and then open the freezer, scrape off some of those shavings in the freezer that's kind of building up, and just sprinkle those over the roof. Just kind of do that. It's like a maintenance of the home. It's something you got to do just to take care of it.
Buy a giant standing fan that you can keep pointed toward the. See, it's like, why not just get a new roof at this point? But get a giant standing fan that's pointed toward the snow to put some cool air toward it. You got to keep the snow there all year round, including the summer. You're going to need some sort of massive surface to suspend over your home to block out the sun as well. We're sitting here joking, but if you had packed snow on your roof, like as your roof, that would keep the home reasonably warm.
That's insulation. It's white. It's going to be reflecting the sunlight. I mean, we're onto something here.
Yeah, it's just like the igloos out there. Same concept. Well, anyway, Stephen, what a list. What a guy you are bringing this list. Yeah. And listeners, I would love to know what you think of this list. And if you have any horror stories of trying to buy a house or trying to sell your house, let me know. Again, you can hit me up at TennisPod on social. And if you are a TennisPod Plus member, which means you're listening to us early and ad-free right now, you can let me know in our private Discord channel as well. Stephen, congrats on your new home, which by the time this episode comes out, you will have hopefully be living in by then.
Hopefully be living in. I'm not sure. I'm not sure when to start celebrating. Like I'm not like the inspection came back good, but we're still not over the house hurdle yet. And so it's like, I don't know, when do you would you celebrate on the day of the closing, like the move-in day, or would you celebrate sooner than that? When would you celebrate?
I'd celebrate when I'm fucking dead. That's when I'll celebrate.
Okay. Also, listeners, when you do join the Discord, I would love to see your butt plugs, big and small, of all colors, shapes, sizes. Just go ahead and post those in the Discord. Make sure you tag Nick Emel for every single one of them.
Open up your drywall in your home and show me the pile of butt plugs from generations of people living in that home story.
I want to see great grandma's butt plugs in there.
Oh my God. All right. I'm going to mercifully end this episode. I want to thank everyone for listening so much. He's Steven, I'm Nick, and we will see you next week.
See you, everybody.